Okay, mighty companions, we can see that the exercise on desire is having a very dramatic effect on us. We know that we really want to hear about the fact that it's okay for us to have our desires. It's a very popular subject. So we're going to start out tonight with an exercise in trust and desire. That's what we're going to use to warm up on. So I'd like you to just take a breath right now and relax. And I'm going to go through this, and it will be a good way for us to get tuned in, as well as actually having some application of the ideas, so that it isn't all just the theoretical framework, but what is it that we're being told to do in order to have desire. Those of you watching out on the internet, thank you. Welcome to the way of mastery. The only rules are you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept the ideas, you need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you're going to find quite startling, and you're not asked to judge the ideas at all, but if you use the ideas, you'll recognize that the ideas are true. All right. Would you mind pushing that power button on that heater right behind you? Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, right behind you. So just hit that, because it's going to create a background noise on it. On the video. Thanks. Take a breath. Overcome any resistance that you have to actually doing this, because I found out that the application is the part that has the most resistance. The thing I want you to remember is that you need do nothing, so the world can wait. Put the world on pause. The world can wait. Relax the body and close the eyes. Relax the body and close the eyes. Relax your body and close your eyes. Relax the body and close the 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 eyes. It can be a great benefit to let the breath become very deep and rhythmic. Deep breaths and rhythmic. This relaxes the nervous system and seduces the controller within your mind. Seduce the controller within your mind. Seduce the controller within your mind. The critic that decides what thoughts are acceptable and which thoughts are not acceptable. Seduce the critic, the controller in your mind that decides what thoughts are acceptable and which thoughts are not. By the way, the critic is never something that you originally created. The critic is something you let live in your mind. The critic that criticizes in your mind was made up by a lot of other fearful minds. It's time for us to stop being ruled by all the other fearful minds, called parents, called teachers, called news, called all of the external things that we hear all the time to make us feel afraid or to criticize ourselves. So as you relax the body, as you relax the mind, ask yourself, as you relax, ask yourself, What do I truly want? 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 What do you truly want? What do you truly want? Truly want? What do you 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 truly want? And observe the images that come. And observe those images without judgment. Notice the feelings. Notice the feelings. Notice the feelings that you're having in your body. What do you truly want? Notice the feelings that are happening in your body when you ask yourself, what do you truly want? Whatever it is, keep a note of it in your mind and later write it down, no matter what it is. Remember, don't judge your desire. Don't judge your desire. Don't criticize your desire. Don't make a note of it being not spiritual enough or too material. Don't judge your desire. Just take a deep breath and relax again and repeat the process. What do I truly want? What do I really want? Deep down in my heart, deep down in my soul, what do I truly want? What do you truly want? Deep down in your heart and in your soul, what do you truly want? Not what the world says you should want, but what do you really want? Now, I want to ask you to place your hand so that it rests on your heart. Breathe into it a few times. You can even put both hands if you want. And then ask, what do I truly desire? What do I truly desire? Allow the process to be what it is. And think about the things that are coming up. What do I truly desire? What do I truly want? What do I truly yearn for? What do I really want deep down in my soul? What do you truly, really desire? Then ask yourself, what is it that keeps on repeating itself? What is the feeling, the thought, that desire that keeps on repeating itself? You might notice that, for example, 3 times you wanted a huge bowl of ice cream, but then it seemed to fade away. You may notice that twice you had a desire for 47 lovers. But now you notice that you're really only wanting one. Whatever it might be, notice the pattern. Notice the thread that seems to run the most throughout the exercise. Now, this is the important part. Think of at least one thing right now that you know you would desire, and don't judge it. At least one thing. Then imagine that thread, a thread, to be the energetic link that is tied to one end. Tie it at one end to the piece of foam at the edge of the wave. So imagine a wave of desire, and you see the foam at the top of the wave, and link an energetic connection from your desire to that foam at the top of the wave. And then let that energetic desire, let the other end be anchored into the depth of the ocean. Then consider that perhaps if you allowed yourself to move down that thread, so feel yourself moving down that thread of desire from the top of the foam of the wave. Picture yourself sliding down the thread of desire, deep, 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 deep into the depth of the ocean of your fulfillment. Put your energy on that to begin to clear up the obstacles within your consciousness that block that desire from being consistently lived from. You would carry yourself from the drop of foam at the edge of the wave to the heart of God. See yourself sliding down that thread of desire from the top of the foam of the wave down into the ocean of the heart of God. Slipping past every obstacle to your having your desire, slipping past every block that keeps you from having your desire. And along the way, everything unlike love would come up for you to release it. So anything that tells you that you can't have your desire in the block that you have around your desire, it's going to come up right now, even if it's just you're not being able to focus on doing this. That's just another one of the obstacles to block your desire. But keep on sliding down the little link to your desire. And you want to say, I release the block. Internally say, I release the block. And during the process, you would go through a metamorphosis that would culminate in your being the living incarnation of the power of your true self, that the Way of Mastery calls the Christ in you. Your soul would realize the fulfillment that it has always sought. I allow my soul to realize the fulfillment it has always sought. I allow my soul to I allow my soul to realize the fulfillment it has always sought. I allow my soul to realize the fulfillment that it has always sought. For you see, the reason you have cleverly decided to trick yourself. You have cleverly decided to trick yourself into blocking the energy of desire. The reason you have tricked yourself into blocking the energy of desire is that the soul knows that were it to follow such a thread of desire through whole and total commitment, the soul will be embarking on the pathway set before you by God that knows how to take you home to happiness. Now, if you are ready to arrive at your home of happiness, if you are ready to arrive at your fulfillment, it will mean that you will have had to give up being a seeker. If you're ready to arrive to your fulfillment now, you have to be ready to give up being a seeker. What does that mean, giving up being a seeker, if you want to have your desire? It means you will have had to become one who has found. You have to see yourself no longer as a seeker, but tell yourself, I have found. I found the way home. I found the truth. I found the way. I don't have to seek it anymore. I have the way. You will have to rise above the crowd. How do you rise above the crowd, the fearful crowd? You will have to give up all of your identifying with smallness. You have to stop identifying with smallness. You are not little. You are not small. You will have to give up needing the approval of others. You will have to give up needing the approval of others. You will have to give up needing the approval of others. Give up needing the approval of others. Give up needing the approval of others. You will have left the nest of insanity. You will have arisen and taken up your rightful place. Take up your rightful place. Take up your rightful place at the right hand of God. Take up your rightful place at the right hand of your Creator. Isn't that the deepest fear? If you be honest with yourself, isn't that the deepest fear that you carry? To actually be the truth of who you are? Christ, love incarnate. Stop being afraid to be who you really and truly are. Stop being afraid to be yourself. Is there anybody in here that would care to share anything that they experienced during that? Anything? Resistance, or something that you felt, or something that you realized? Yeah.
I felt my shoulders being real heavy, and through the process I felt like a weight being lifted.
So you felt your shoulders were really heavy, and then through the process you felt like a weight was being lifted
like
off of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Sarah.
I felt excitement and relief.
You felt excitement and relief. Was there any particular thought that you heard that kind of stuck
I've been
out?
working on a lot of stuff this past week even, and catching myself when I'm trying to seek.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ca-
saying, being like,
catching
wait, I
yourself.
gotta stop, back off. I'm not leaving the game here.
Okay, so you find yourself catching yourself when you would start to seek.
Like immediately I'm catching it and I'm being mindful of like ego.
Yeah,
Trying to like step
yeah.
ahead.
It's like we get so used to seeking that we forget that it's possible to find.
Mhm.
And then when you find what you've been seeking, which is the way of mastery, the way, then it's time to apply the way in order to have what we want.
Mhm.
It's almost like falling in love with the road sign. And so all of a sudden, all we're doing is falling in love with the recipe book, but never want to go in the kitchen and start cooking the cake. You know, and that's what many true students do. They think if they amass a lot of different recipe books, at some point they're going to get the cake. So they go to one workshop after another workshop, after another book, after another class, after another teacher, and then they go, boy, I've been reading and studying books for years, but I haven't gotten what it is I've been seeking. Yeah, but you could get 100 cookbooks and never see anything cooked. So, I love the analogy that someone gave me years ago of it's sort of like wanting to build a house, and then you go to the hardware store or whatever, and you get the tools, the hammer and the nails and the wood, and you throw it down on the floor, and then you wait and you're wondering why the house isn't being built. And then what we do is go, the house isn't being built. We go back to the hardware store, get some more hammers, some more nails, and some more wood. And so it's time. So we're being told it's time to stop that, and to realize we found what we're looking for. So now we just need to start applying it. Anybody else want to share anything that came up for them? Yes.
I was feeling a lot of lightness,
Mhm.
like in the sense of brightness, and as well as like a feeling of lightness above us. And I felt like I was not my body, and that there was openness between all of our consciousness, and that we kind of we're all thinking the same thing as we listen to the message. And so it's just really
Thank you. Thank you. There are no wrong answers. I just would love to hear what's going on in you all, what's happening within you. Anybody else care to share?
I just had a question. In A Course in Miracles, is the seeker, well, there's another word that was used, a transformer. Remember that? To transform instead of simply seeking. Seeking for ways to find an awakening and never finding it, but instead transforming using the teachings that we learn here or in A Course in Miracles to transform ourselves.
And the transformation is the removal of the blocks to the awareness that we are loved. That's why it ended on the deepest fear you carry is actually the fear of actually being the truth of who you really are, which is Christ incarnate. You know, the infinite spiritual being that we are. That's the transformation. The transformation is in the recognition of who we are, who we already are. Yeah, so the Course definitely talks about transformation, but it's always talking about letting go of all the blocks to the awareness of who we really are. Because he said we could recognize who we are in 1 minute and change our world in the next instant. He said we could recognize who we were in 1 instant and change our entire reality in the next instant. And the Course also says every problem is an identity problem. That every problem is an identity problem. Every problem that anyone has is always ultimately them not knowing who they are. I was looking at the recording that I made of the Grammys yesterday. And this guy named Sam Smith won 4 Grammys, and he was unheard of a year ago. And he told his story about, he was cleaning toilets not long ago, now he was like winning 4 Grammys. And he said when he was trying to be successful, he would try to do the look that everybody told him to look and act like everybody told him to act and everything. He said, it wasn't until I just decided to just be myself that all of this happened. And I thought that was a very beautiful message that we all could learn from. Just do it the way you do it. And don't worry about how anybody else. Notice that we were given the characteristics of the person who's found. And it said the characteristic of someone who's found is that you raise above the crowd. But you do that by giving up your identifying with smallness, and that means you got to give up the need to be approved by others. There's some things that I'm going to do, that I want to do, that I'm being instructed to do, that could be very radical in terms of how my life goes and my teaching ministry goes within myself. And I have to constantly remind myself that don't get caught up in how anybody's going to approve of what you're being told to do right now, and how you've been told to express yourself right now, and how you've been told to allow your reality to be created. And then we were also told through this that what you do is what? You breathe, right? That was the first thing we were told. Ask ourselves, what is it that I truly desire? Then it also said on here, write it down. And then do that over and over again and see what is the pattern that keeps coming up in terms of your own desires. And then don't worry about judging that and saying, well, that's not spiritual enough, or that's not something that other people would approve of. And then we're being told, I loved how he said, do the visualization. Some of us are good visualizers. We can create easier if we can give ourselves pictures of what we want. So then he says, okay, picture a wave. Picture the foam at the top of the wave. Take the thread of your desire, attach it to the foam, and then watch that thread of desire go down to the depth of the ocean of God, and then see yourself sliding down your desire. Sort of like a spiritual pole dancer. Right? Going down the thread of your desire. And then it says what you're going through as you go down, you're going past the obstacles and the blocks that you have about having your desire. And it says that as you move down that love, everything unlike it is going to come up in order for it to be released. Okay, so that's important because sometimes people mistake the fact that they're purifying and releasing to mean that none of this is working. Because you feel the anger, or you feel the fear, or you see the obstacle, or you see the upset, and the ego mind has told you that if you're doing this right, you just feel good all the time. And so you think you're doing it wrong because sometimes instead of feeling really good, you feel really crappy. And that's why sometimes I believe people don't stick around in classes like this. It's because if they're actually starting to be successful, it starts to bring up everything in them that's the opposite of what it's talking about. And so the Course in Miracles, that's why I always say this is a combination of the Course in Miracles, a way of mastery. It says to the fearful mind, to the unaware mind, it says the body's comfort is its guiding rule. That to the average human being, all they want is comfort. And they want to always go in the direction of what's going to be comfortable. But self-realization isn't always comfortable. So you have to let go of this idea that awakening is going to always feel comfortable, or you won't stick it out to get to the other side to have what you desire. And most of all, you have to really want it. Like, notice that we've only been working on desire. Because without true desire, you're going to give up at the very first little resistance that comes up. So you have found. You have found. So that means you're going to have what you really want in your heart.
All right.
Because you have found. Okay? And we need each other because it's so easy to go back into the sleep of forgetfulness. That's why it's so hard to do it by yourself, because you get caught up in this illusion out here and you forget you ever heard any of this. So I'm thankful to you, and I'm grateful that there are other souls that want to go beyond what the world is telling us is the truth. Yeah, my brother.
I love the analogy because I spend 90% of my existence up in the choppiness of the wave.
It's a great way to put it.
And just kind of flailing around, flailing around in the tide.
Trying to surf.
And the foam on the edge of the wave. And if I can connect down to the depths of the ocean where things are peaceful, and things are one. I realized then that I'm part of everything. I'm not this separate, choppy
Yes, that's awesome.
thing up there. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So
yeah,
the analogy was,
Yeah,
as we went further and further into it, just a sense of peace.
that's a great analogy. That it's up at the surface.
The surface is where all the crap.
And there's a part where I don't know if it's in this book or the book I'm also reading called A Course of Love, that it talks about, that see the body as the surface. That the body is just like that analogy you're making. The body is the surface. This is the surface where all of the craziness and the wave is happening. And that stillness that we want is going what? Deep into the truth. Deep into the truth. Those of you who have the book, we're on page 52. Actually, no, we're on page 53. We're at the paragraph in the way of the heart that starts off with desire can be much fun.
All right.
Thank you, sister. I'm glad somebody thinks that's a good idea. Somehow I'm not surprised it was you. I'm not shocked at all. They'll just send you to the hospital to laugh at everybody so they can get healed and go home.
That's right. A new ministry was formed.
That's right. Just get you a recorder and we just gonna get you laughing. Cause you don't know how many times I played you at home, Desire can be much fun. Ideally, once you have practiced this on your own, ask your mate, ask a close friend if they would be willing to embark on this process with you, so that perhaps once a week you can sit down together and you can say, what did you come up with this week? Everybody's looking for a relationship. Most everybody wants a relationship. Then they get it and then they don't know what to do with it. They think that the purpose of it is for the person to make them happy. The problem with that is they don't even know what makes themselves happy. So if you don't know what makes you happy, how can you tell when somebody's doing it, really? So it's sort of like you sit back and you hope they do something that makes you happy. And they say, well, I like that or I didn't like that. Is there something I need to get upset about? Is that okay? Okay, then you let them do something else. You go, oh, is that okay or not okay? So the truth is, what would be a better goal in a relationship than to have the purpose of the relationship is to be self-realization and to help each other in the fulfillment of your desires through helping each other remember who you really are and your true power. And then you use your time together to study stuff like this and discuss stuff like this and how you can do it together more. It's going to turn you on.
Oh, I love when you talk like that.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. I'm better than the 900 number. I'm telling you right now. You know what I'm saying. But really, but that's the way I am. It's like what turns me on is the truth. The way a body used to turn me on, now the truth turns me on. And when you are more turned on by the truth than the body, your discipline around the body becomes amazing. Your ability to be in control. Like you remember the first part of this, it was talking about seduce the controller, the critic, and then who is the critic? All those voices that have been teaching us from the world since the day we were born. And then it goes on to say, so here I am, you're with your friend, you're with a lover, whoever. And then it say, well, what did you come up with this week? It's called undressing in front of a friend. So now undressing in front of somebody is more about revealing your thoughts and your true feelings and your true desires than them just undressing by taking their clothes off. Because as you know, after a few years in a regular relationship, unless you've really been working on it, they undress in front of you and then you say, get out the way, I'm trying to watch TV. So at one time, it was the most thrilling thing that could have happened. Unless you keep yourself stimulated by being fascinated with who you really are, we all are old enough to know that other part plays out. I don't care how good it is, if it's not being rooted in some form of spiritual growth, some form of consciousness, feeling like you're moving towards something real. So we're not just talking about lovers, we're talking about friends, we're talking about anyone that we want to connect with. He says that's undressing in front of a friend. So undressing in front of someone is nothing but becoming vulnerable to one another. So if I become vulnerable to you, I'm not protected, I'm not holding back, that's spiritual undressing.
Wow.
Then it says it's called finding another child to play with. I love that, in the kingdom. In other words, this is our new sandbox.
Wow.
And away from the adult world. See, we got to get to we got to be like spiritual children going into a new sandbox, which means away from the adult world, because the adult world of fear says that desire is bad and you guys better be careful. You know, y'all coming to this weird class with this weird black dude, y'all better be careful. You know what I'm saying? This might be a cult. He's going to break out the Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? Anybody knows me know I wouldn't be breaking out no Kool-Aid. So, you begin to look at what is true and real from a place of innocence. You begin to create for yourself a support group. That's the other thing that I'd like to interject about why I do classes. My desire is for us to recognize that the true gift that we have every week is that we are a support group for the fulfillment of each other's desires. But the Course in Miracles teaches that when the ego mind, the person who's only about their own separateness, comes together in what we call a group, it says that we don't come together to really join, that fearful minds only come together to get what each person wants individually, and then they leave without any kind of thought of their brothers and sisters also having the fulfillment of their desires. So it's really not joining. It's just usually a group of bodies being in the same physical location together for an hour. That's not joining. Joining is for me to undress in front of you by being vulnerable in front of you and saying, you know what, this is a block that I'm having right now that I'd like for you all to help me see differently about myself. I'm not coming here to hide. I'm coming here to be open about what it is that needs to be released, and I want to hear the way out of it together with you. That's why I treasure our time together. So it says, in that support group, perhaps can grow to 3 or 4 friends, or 10 or 20, in which everyone involved is involved with what? Getting in touch with what is really there. What does that mean? It means by understanding the principle that desire is the thread that links your soul with the heart of God. Whew. Now here's another great word for desire. It can be passion. What do you have a passion for? Whatever you have a passion for, that's your biggest desire. And you all know how passion will propel you. You know, think about the things you've done just out of your deep desire for it, right? And it says God wants only to extend through you that which expresses love in the world. So the Creator only wants to use you to express love in the world. It doesn't matter what you want to do in the world. It doesn't matter what you want to do in the world, because everything in the world is neutral. Since everything in the world is neutral, then what you want is to allow love to come through your desire, and nobody who's really conscious really is going to have a desire to attack or to harm. Right. So whenever I hear people say in the class, well, what about if you got a desire to murder somebody? I say, well, you're asleep, because nobody that's the least bit awake is going to sit up here and dream about murdering. So you wouldn't have to worry about if that person is going to have a desire that's going to be harmful, who's consciously dreaming or desiring. A person like that wouldn't even be in this room. They wouldn't even be attracted to a class like this. So we also have to remember that it's no accident that we're here together, which means whatever we're hearing tonight is for the people who are coming here tonight. That's an important thought, y'all. Yep. That's why the same people aren't here every week, because the same people aren't being sent here every week by God, Spirit. And I had to get over that a long time ago about numbers, because that's what Spirit told me. No, 50 people were sent this week, 2 people were sent this week, 15 might be sent this week, and you might have 300 the next week. They're being sent because the people who are sent specifically need the message that we're hearing tonight. That's why I don't really like the room to be too comfortable. Y'all know what happens in a too comfortable room.
Go to sleep.
We go to sleep. We go to sleep in 2 seconds. You know, it's important for us to be proactive about our own awakening. I got to catch my own ego. So perhaps it's a worthwhile project. For when you do not turn to allow the embrace of desire, there is only one alternative. If you won't go in direction of desire, then you're going to be living at the survival level. So everybody that you see struggling and living at the survival level, do you know that they are people, those are the people who aren't following their desires? Everyone that's living at the survival level is someone that's not really doing what they really want to do in their heart. And it says, when you choose the energy of survival, what's going to happen is the world is going to become your master.
Yep.
That's right. And before, and what are you going to do before your master? It says, well, you're going to, it's going to be a master before which you will be made to bow again and again and again and again and again, lifetime, whoa, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime.
Wow.
You will be a slave to the insanity that rules this world.
Can I ask you a question?
No, just a second. Okay, I'm gonna throw it open. Just a second. Okay. And when you are a slave to the insanity that seems to rule this world, he says, you will never know peace. So how can I tell if I'm a slave to the insanity that rules this world? I'm not following my desires. I'm living at a survival level, and I'm not very pleasant.
Yeah.
I'm not smiling a lot. I'm not having a really good time here. He says, then you never know joy. You'll never come home. Plain and simple. But you were not created to just wither and to die on the back. You were not born just to try to struggle for a few years and try to make it and die. You were made to bear forth much good fruit. Okay, now my dear.
Okay, so when you say desire, do you mean somebody choose what they want to do in their life? What is a mission? What is a calling? And they have a desire about it?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm an artist, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I had a desire to make jewelry, and I started making jewelry. I put all my life in it. Trust me, I had a big desire,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not doing well.
Okay, so that
And I
means
put
that.
like many years in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Now, it's a lot of reasons. First of all, at some level, there's a part of you that desires to have the outcome that you're having right now. That's number one. That you're not the victim of your jury desire. That there are some blocks and obstacles that, remember it said that there are blocks and obstacles that we have to learn how to release in terms of fulfilling our desire. And then even when you were trying to achieve the success in the jury area, how much were you identifying with that as being where your value would come from or your happiness would ultimately come from? Because ultimately, we have to learn that our happiness is actually coming from within ourselves, and that the love of God is going to come through whatever the desire is that we are expressing ourselves through. So what I'm saying is there are some thoughts that you have within your mind that represent some types of fear or blocks or sense of separation or undeserving of that needs to be purged, forgiven, and released. See, that's the thing that's important, is that to understand that I have to also let go of the blocks to the awareness of that love and that desire manifesting the way that I want to. And so what you're doing right now is actually what needs to be done in order for you to release the blocks to allowing yourself to really feel the love and the joy that you can give yourself and that God can give through you, through what you do. Does that make sense? And what I'm saying is that there are some blocks that need to be released. That's all. So don't give up on the desire. Don't judge the desire. Don't think the desire is not a good desire. You just want to ask your higher power to help you remove any blocks that you have to allowing yourself to feel the fulfillment that you deserve to feel in whatever you do. Okay? Anybody else And we're gonna take 5 minutes or so for any kind of question or just discussion. This is, when I say 5 minutes, is not necessarily for me to answer everything. It's a chance for us to talk among ourselves and discuss what we are realizing. Yeah.
I really love this particular phrase that desire is the thread that links your soul to the heart of God. And when we live in a society that teaches us to be shamed by our desire, it's like cutting the cord. You know, we have these cord cutting ceremonies, right? And when I looked at that, I thought, you know, our society is cutting the cord to God by inhibiting desire.
That's right. That's right. And that's why I said earlier, you know, notice that it's, what did it say a minute ago? That, we have to be like little children playing in a sandbox away from the adult world that says desire is bad. So you guys be careful.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think we really realize the extent to which the programming that we got as children impacts us the rest of our lives. And I think sometimes we get into spiritual truth and metaphysics and all this studying, that what we do, it's like putting a lot of times it's like putting frosting on top of mud.
Yeah.
You know, that we really haven't dealt with the mud at all.
Right.
We just put all these new kind of thoughts on top of it without ever really doing the shadow work that allows us to release it. And so we constantly find ourselves being at the survival level because we really haven't dealt with the unconscious guilts and fears and blocks and grievances that we still have, that we haven't taken a look at. And the Course is teaching us, and the Way of Mastery is teaching us, that you can't do it by yourself. That's why the whole God, the big G word or the spiritual word comes in, because the way to do this is with your higher power, with God, with Source. Yeah. Anybody else? Any realizations, anything you'd like to share? Perhaps it's a worthwhile project, but when you do not turn to allow the embrace of desire, there's only one alternative, what? To live from what? Survival. So it says, let the roots be watered by desiring. Now, isn't that interesting? It says, let the roots be watered by desiring. So actually, the desire is actually watering the roots of the happiness that we want to experience. And then it says, above all things, to become the fulfillment of what God had in mind when God breathed into you the breath of life. In other words, let that breath be received in each moment. You will come to see that the only question you need to be preoccupied with is this. The only question you need to be preoccupied with is this. How much of God am I willing to receive and allow to be expressed through me? How much of love am I willing to receive and allow to be expressed through me? How much of happiness am I willing to receive and allow to be expressed through me? That's what's meant by separating the wheat from the chaff. The chaff is the thinking of the world that would have you believe that you're little and small. You got to separate yourself from the people and situations and circumstances at first that are supporting the old way of being that you no longer want to express. It doesn't mean they have to permanently be out of your experience, but just like a person that's just getting into AA, they'll tell you they can't hang out with their friends who are still drinking all the time. If you really want to change your mind and love yourself more and get in touch with your power, you got to make sure that you start being more discerning in the beginning about who it is you join with. And I'm to the point I'd rather be in the park all day by myself than listen to 10 minutes of the conversations that most people have. Ow! And I do that. The first time when I think about anybody, the first thing that comes to my mind, what are we going to focus on? What are we going to communicate about? Are we going to be reinforcing our fear and the insanity? Are we going to be saying something to each other? Do I walk away from this person feeling energized and inspired and turned on? Or do I walk away feeling drained? And you know your vampire friends. We all know our vampire friends. And that's not putting them down. I'm just saying they're just fearful. And they just don't know the truth. And so they don't know how to give. They just know how to take. Yeah, they try to get with you so that they can feel better. They're not trying to get with you so that they can exchange love with you, so that you're both feeling better. It's like, I feel pretty depressed. I think I'll call Cheryl. You see what I'm saying? I mean, that's the way, if you find yourself doing that, then you're in vampire. You're a vampire. The minute you think about being with anybody, but all you're thinking about is how they make you feel, but you're not asking, what can I bring to the table? You're a vampire. And on Saturday night, there's a lot of vampires hanging out on the weekend. They're getting dressed to go out and see how much blood they can suck that night. You know what I'm saying? How much can they get? Who's going to give me something tonight? I'm going out to get somebody. I'm going out to get something. So separating the wheat from the chaff is you separating yourself from small minds and smallness within yourself. He says this can only result in your what? Perpetual suffering. The wheat is the food that gives life because it is filled with the love of God. So don't be afraid of desire. But desire to embrace desire. I have a desire to embrace desire. I have a desire to embrace desire, touch desire, feel desire, know desire, dance with desire, sing with desire, look at desire innocently, feel desire completely. See, I can't pull into that off, y'all, if I'm not being honest with myself about what I desire.
That's right.
And if I'm not getting excited about what I say I desire, it's a fake desire. You tell me you want to make $1 million and you said to me, I want to make $1 million. Fake desire. I want to have a relationship. Fake desire. I want a brand new job. Fake desire. How do I know it's a fake desire? How do you know it's a fake desire? Because you're not singing it, you're not dancing it, you're not touching it, you're not feeling it, you're not getting excited about it. And so you might just find yourself needing to take some time to just get in touch with your desires. Like tonight, if there was nothing that really moved you, nothing that excited you, don't put yourself down. Just say, I need to seriously take some time to get in touch with that which I truly desire. And then set that as a goal. Because we all know what it feels like to get excited about something that we really want. I remember when I was a kid and I wanted my first bicycle, I couldn't sleep. I can remember sitting in school, in elementary school, just like it was yesterday, fantasizing all day long about my bicycle and what I was going to do with it and where I wanted to go with it. And I had so much guilt that I got the bicycle that was greater than the bicycle that I could have ever imagined because we were poor, and went right out on Christmas Day and got hit by a car. So, you know, I had some obstacles. I had some stuff I needed to get through. So I spent Christmas night in the hospital.
Oh,
Wow.
Next to a burn victim. So that was really interesting. Really interesting. So what did that mean? That even then, there was a part of me that didn't think I deserved it. And even at that age, I created something painful behind my joy. And the Course in Miracles says an unconscious being, a fearful mind, believes that it has to pay for any form of joy with coins of suffering. So for everything that makes you feel good, you got to pay for it by having something that makes you feel bad happen afterwards. Anybody familiar with that one? Yeah, you have a good time, then right after that, you know, you party real hard, then you have a hangover the next day. You know what I'm saying? It's like we come up, he says, we always try to feel like we have to pay for a pleasure. Every pleasure has to be paid for with some type of pain. That's what you do when you still believe in smallness, what the world teaches you. So even at that age, there was a part of me that obviously needed that spiritual lesson. And I can think of many positive things that happened to me out of that. But we come here, old souls. It's our bodies that are young. So when you see little children and you go, how could that happen to a little child? You're talking about a young body. It happened to a 6-year-old body. It happened to a 7-year-old body. That soul is just as old as yours with its lessons and its learnings just as much as you have. And your children inherit the most from themselves, not from you. So you can be the nicest, best parent in the world and still have a kid that ends up in trouble, quote unquote, because they got their own soul lessons. So what's your role in that? Your role is to be authentically yourself. That's why you were chosen as their parent or as their mate or as their... See, I was getting together in relationships. It's a lot more to that than I just don't want to be alone and I want somebody to love on. I want somebody to love on me and we can do things together and we can travel.
No.
It's a much deeper connection going on than that. It's usually a continuation of a relationship that needs to have some level of growth and healing. The Course in Miracles says you're not even really attracted to somebody unless it's really somebody you got a grievance that needs to be forgiven with. And it's the actual attraction to them that gets you into the lesson because you wouldn't otherwise go through it. And you know that's true by the changes we go through the ones we get in relationships. It's not such a weird thought if you think about it. The people you form special relationships are the ones who bring up everything within you that needs to be healed and corrected. So that's why you chose them, because whatever your issues are, they're going to bring them up. If you're a conscious being, you're grateful because you're going to do what? You're going to do just what he said. You're going to say, how much of God am I willing to receive and allow to be expressed through me in this relationship? And then we're going to also play together. So I'm going to ask you, what is it that you want and what is it that you're trying to create and how can I help you create that? And how can we help each other get past any blocks to having the love that we desire? I'm guaranteeing you, a relationship based on that would be a relationship that you would not get bored with. Boredom comes from trying to fit a person into the script you made up with them in order to make you feel happy, and then you try to control their behavior. They become boring and routine because if they try to get outside the little routine that you set up for them in order to make you feel secure, then you freak out. So they have to stay a certain way around you, and y'all get bored with each other. There's no excitement. So I would advise you to start out at least with the person you like. Just with this little tip, because you're gonna go through lessons in love, so at least have that much on your side. It's somebody you really like. Then it's easier. It's fun. Like you said, have fun in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun in the sandbox. Any questions, any comments? Anybody want to share now about anything? Making the comments or ask questions. This is a great opportunity. So you all are totally happy and fulfilled and complete in every way and have nothing about anything that you're wondering about, anything at any level, and nothing to share at any level about anything at all. Okay. All right, you're innocent. You're totally innocent. Okay, now, and then learn to discern. Learn to discern through the ways we have given you what desire is truly that thread that is shining forth through all of your days. Then decide to let the desire, now check this out. He says, decide to let the desire inform your choices so that you create a life that serves the fulfillment of that thread of desire. In other words, my greatest desire is to recognize my oneness with God and to allow myself to be a vehicle for God to do whatever God wants to do. Now, after all of my years of studying, that's my desire. Guarantee it wasn't my desire when I was 23. All right? Now it's my desire. So when I hear that, so if I desire to be the love of God in human form, then my decisions should be based on what that desire would call for. So would that desire call for attack? No. Would that desire call for criticism if possible? No. Would that desire call for me to see myself as a victim? No. Would that desire call for me to stop judging my desires? Yes. Would that desire call for me to say I'm the one that's creating my reality through my thoughts? Yes. Would that desire call for me to see myself as one with you and you? See what I'm saying? The once I know what my desire is, then my desire can start informing my choices. Then it says, I had to do the same. This is what Jeshua was saying. Yeshua was saying, I had to do the same. For I began to notice that there was a thread of desire in my heart to create some form of demonstration that would be so overwhelming that everyone and anyone who turned their attention to it couldn't help but be reminded that there is something far greater to life than living to survive. Lord have mercy, that's true. There's something far greater to life than living to survive and surviving just to live.
Yep.
Stop surviving just to live. When I traveled overseas for the first time, people used to always, once they found out I was from America and they felt close enough to do it, they would start asking me what the hell was going on with Americans. That would be like the first thing that they would ask me, because they couldn't understand the way we live. It just seems like we don't even take vacations. People can't even go on vacations anymore. They're constantly called and text. So they think it's crazy that it's almost like we just live to work. And they, when I went to Spain, they kick back.
Yeah.
Every afternoon, everything shuts down.
Yeah.
They chilled out.
Yeah.
And over here, it never stops.
Yeah.
And we actually associate success with staying busy all the time. So people think they're more successful by how busy they are when they're not aware, right? And it's kind of funny. The Course in Miracles says that the reason why people are so caught up in busyness is to avoid their own thoughts. Because if I can stay busy every minute, I don't have to really ask myself basic questions like, where do I really go for happiness and protection and joy? What is it that I really desire? What am I really doing myself? Why am I with you? Or why am I not? You see what I'm saying? It's like we stay so busy. That's why people play music or whatever so loud that they can't even hear their thoughts. It's the exact same thing. So if you're so busy that you have to schedule bathroom breaks 2 weeks ahead of time, you are avoiding yourself. You really are. You really are. Because the minute you're quiet, you start to hear what you're telling yourself. Not what somebody else is telling you, but what you. So the purpose of a relationship, when you're coming from fear, is to preoccupy yourself so much with the relationship that you don't really deal with your own spiritual awareness and who you really are. A conscious being uses a relationship to remind them of who they really are and to wake up to who they really are. So I'm for the relationships that remind me of love. That's what I want. And I always stop and say this because I want the universe to be very clear about my intention. Fully knowing that as soon as I say that, everything in me that's not loving is going to come up for me to take a look at. So if I got an ounce of jealousy, an ounce of fear, an ounce of neediness, an ounce of criticism, an ounce of attack, it's going to come up because I'm serious about knowing what love really is. But since my path told me that, when I see my insanity and my craziness, I don't beat myself up like I would have at another time. Oh, Earl, that's just another one of your crazy thoughts. Okay. It means it's floating up to be gone. Any questions, any comments? Yes.
I have a comment about the connection I'm making the connection between my desire and me not perceiving my own best interest. So if I look at my desires, I can say, I don't know why I desire this, and I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to open it up for what it's there for instead of what I've decided it's there for.
Yes. So the same way would be the universe, Holy Spirit, higher power. I'm giving this desire to you. And I want you to use my desire. Now what I found out was, don't tell anybody. Tell anybody. Is that whenever I would give my desire to higher power, I would end up having the desire and ended up having it in a way that was peaceful for everybody involved. So it wasn't any sacrifice involved when I actually gave it up. You see, like if I had a jewelry business or something like what you're saying, I would say, Holy Spirit, please use my desire to do jewelry as a way to be a means to heal everything and be a means for love and be a means for light. I want you to take this desire and you use it. See, that's where I do it.
Right.
That way I still get a chance to do my jewelry thing, but it's also being used as a means for healing of everyone. The error is in asking for things just for yourself without any desire for everyone to benefit through it. because the desire, a desire isn't real if it's just for you. Is what the Course teaches and what the way a master teaches. That if you want a powerless desire, then desire something just for your own personal interest.
But you know, when I had this dream about the jewelry, which was very, very big,
Mhm.
like I had a plan for help. It was not just for me. It's
Mhm.
still not just for me. I always thought this way. It just,
Mhm.
for some reason, don't come through, even though I have the right thoughts why I want it to be.
Mhm. And
So-
your prayer, but see, your prayer is still being answered. You said that you had in mind not just for you.
Yeah.
Now you are studying something that's showing you exactly how to have it in a way that's not just for you. See, everything that happened to you from the moment that you decided to share and to connect with Spirit, you have to trust that everything that happened from that moment up to this moment has been part of the divine plan to bring you to that level of consciousness that you can have what you want. So this is part of the answer to your prayer years ago.
Mm.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that your prayer really is being answered. You really are being shown how to do your thing in a way that you can only experience joy and everyone can benefit through it. Because your higher power gave you that desire.
Yeah.
And gave you that desire for a reason.
Right.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is you're just doing fine.
Well, I don't know about that, yeah.
That's why you needed me to tell you.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
See, that's what us saviors do for each other.
Right.
When you forget, I remind you. When I forget,
Yeah.
you remind me.
Right, right.
Right? So yes, you had your hand up, brother.
I did. And I'm struggling to articulate this in a way that comes across like I envision it. But for the last several weeks, I've had real difficulty in identifying what it is I truly desire. When I go into that, the committee starts analyzing and saying, well, you already had that and that didn't work out so well, and then, you know, well, no, that's really materialistic and shallow. And so I have this debate going on up here, and I don't know how to say this, but most of the things that I have set my heart on, I've achieved and found them to be lacking.
Right.
For lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
And then just tonight, when I was going through that kind of guided meditation, I slipped into this mind awake, body asleep mode that I used to go into when I was studying remote viewing, which turned out very badly for me. But it was very soothing. I felt very safe and very protected in my vulnerability, that I was basically, my body didn't function there for a few minutes. But what got me into that was I was kind of meditating on what it is that I truly desire at this stage in my life, and I'm having trouble coming up with an answer.
Well, the beautiful part about it is that all you're being asked to do right now is just to ask the question. Live in that question right now. The question would be, what would it take for me to recognize my desire, my true desire, in ways beyond my wildest imagination, through Holy Spirit, higher power, God, whatever that term is for you. Because what you want to do is just live in that question right now, and not pressure yourself or have to come up with an immediate answer.
Cool.
The request from Spirit is that we get in the habit of asking instead of telling it what, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, I need to ask. You know, yes.
I'm glad you went first, because what you said goes right with where I was led, and that is then decide to let that desire inform your choices, so that you create a life that serves the fulfillment of that thread of desire. Another way that could be interpreted is that theme of desire. You know, like a thread in a story is a theme in a story. And I think so often in our culture we are taught to ask ourselves, what do I want? And find the form, right? What's the form I want? And the thread of desire, the theme of desire, you know, like I want joy. I desire joy.
Right.
And so joy can come in 20 million different forms. And so if I allow the thread of I desire joy to inform, then I'm not looking for a form. I'm not looking for it. And I think we have a tendency when we, what more could I ask, is to look for the form rather than the underlying theme we're trying to achieve through that desire.
And to add to what you're saying, one of the things that don't forget that we've been hearing a lot is about not judging the desire, and that's the slippery slope to me that we have to watch. And even what you're saying right now, if you don't watch it though, you still go back to something's wrong with me asking for the form of what I want. And that's, even though it's not what you're saying, but that's what the mind slips into very easily. That okay, something that means again there's something. But if you know the form of what you want, the Course says, then come back and say, if I make no decisions by myself, then this is the day that will be given me. This is what will be given me. So it tries to cover us at both ends. I always tell people, if you don't know I didn't have any problem knowing that the form of what I wanted, my desire to the form of me wanting to be a teacher of A Course in Miracles. Okay, that was very specific. But underneath that was the desire to heal my sense of separation from God and to be a means for love on the planet. That was underneath that. Then the form revealed itself. It's almost like that desire took the form that would be the best form for me. Right? That's what I'm saying. It's really like a mixture of both of them. If I don't know the form of what I want, then I always say, the Course said, then just say, Holy Spirit, decide for me. Higher power, decide for me. And if you say that with sincerity, it will be revealed. That would be a better way to put it. And if you don't know what it is, by all means, make it okay not to know what it is. That's the big challenge too, is that we are so taught that we need to know everything, that especially if you're an adult, you should always know exactly what's going on at all times, that we don't realize that unless we can go into that I don't know place, we can't hear the answer. Me saying I don't know means, the Course does a line that says, you're saying you don't know means God does know. So when I say I don't know, then I'm opening up the universe or spirit to show me. So don't feel like anything is wrong if you can't do anything that we're hearing right here, right now, tonight. What we're being asked to do is just to start posing these kind of questions and asking ourselves, what is it that I really desire? And to know that anything that makes us, if we are not feeling our connection to Source, then nothing we do in the world is going to be satisfying. It's just like what you said. You had accomplished a lot of things, and once you got it, then you weren't satisfied. I can relate to that completely. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, though, because when I had everything that was my fantasy manifest, but I was not really happy, that was what made me start asking, where do I really go for satisfaction? And the funny thing about it was, the minute I started asking, where do I really go, which meant I was being directed to God immediately, then all those things started to I started to have a different experience of all of it, because I was feeling love. So I could go back and do the same thing that didn't satisfy me at another time, out of a feeling of love and fulfillment within myself, and have an entirely different experience of it than the last time I did that. So don't believe that just because you did something and you didn't experience joy in it, that you could never experience joy through that. But see, our error is that we try to experience joy from that. See, through that and from that is two different things. Me experiencing love through you and me is different from me trying to get love from you. Joy from you. And see, most people who are not awake, they're constantly trying to get happiness from the job, from the body, from the specialist, from the jewelry, from the course. See, if I was trying to get happiness from my classes, I would have stopped teaching a long time ago. But I'm in control of what I feel, what I allow to come through me for you, I feel. Because nothing can come through me that doesn't have an effect on me. And that's very important. And everything I'm saying, it's not Earl's wisdom. What I'm doing is like just sharing with you what the course and all these books are saying. Because that's what a relationship is for. It's to save you time. So if I can save you time, that's what I'm trying to do. But I'm not giving you my wisdom. That's which is different.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of, maybe it was more like, it wasn't so much the prize, it was getting to the prize, like the journey.
Yeah, right.
You know, the steps, the
Right.
process of getting there. And once I got there, it was, all right, whatever.
Right. Right.
That makes sense?
And what it makes total sense because that's the way we're programmed. We're programmed from the day that we get here that, you know, it's to not enjoy the journey. You know, just it's all about the destination, but don't enjoy the journey. Now I'm enjoying the journey and the destination because I'm on a journey without distance to a goal that's never changed, which is love. That's all I want is love. I'm clear about that now because everything else is hollow without that. But I didn't know what love was. That's what the books, that's what they taught me. That's what the way of master is teaching us. Hey, you all, it's great to want love, but I don't know how to break this to you. You don't have the slightest friggin' idea what it is, how to do it, or anything. And that's why y'all miserable. You're making up your own version, and you're trying to do it, and it's not working. So let me tell you how to do it for real, and then you have the satisfaction that you want, because you are love. So you have to be successful, because it's what you are. Yeah, darling.
So I've been working with like removing a couple blocks, and so I started kind of like with the mud, you know, like the early teachings and why, like where I got my beliefs, my illusions, and all of that, and then I felt really peaceful with that, and then now I'm becoming aware of my actions that aren't lining up, where I'll find myself trying to do it myself, and I have to stop and be like, I give this to you. And when I do that, I've been led to the most beautiful places that I wasn't planning, you know. And I did that last night with an issue that I was trying to remove the block with, and I give this to you. And what you do with it, I know it's in my best interest. And today, like, it was solved.
See?
And so I wanted to come for you to
You gave it up, right?
whatever, yeah. I
Yeah.
surrendered in it. It just was a miracle.
You know the biggest challenge is? The biggest challenge is to do that every time. See, because we've been programmed that you should always come up with different solutions all the time, rather than taking the one solution that works and then applying it to everything. We're taught to always look. So if you could get in the habit of what you did, you know what I'm saying, applying that process every time it comes up, no matter what it looks like, even though there are going to be times that you're going to purposely try to make it look like you failed. There's a part of the mind that wants to believe that none of the stuff that we are doing works. And what it does is introduce contradictions to what you're trying to do to try to convince you that what you're trying to do doesn't work consistently. And so the challenge is to recognize that's all it is. It's just me trying to convince myself that this doesn't work because I feel more comfortable with the stuff that I learned and been programmed with in the past. And that's what the ego is. It's just our old programming. So if we could be consistent, which is what the Course teaches, honesty is consistency. If I just start being consistent, what do I truly desire? I'm not going to deal with it by myself. I am going to ask for guidance. I am not alone. I'm going to do what he's telling me, my path. I'm going to do what my path is saying. Some people need to do a lot of different paths. So they study a lot of different things. Some people, they single out one particular path and they say, I'm going to focus on that. You know, I've done both. And the Course in Miracles for me was the thing that gave me results because it was the first thing I stuck with, and it became easier because I found when I was studying a lot of different stuff, one would say, be sure to do A. If you do A, everything's going to work. Then you pick up another book and it'll go, whatever you do, don't do A. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You know, you'll go to a lot of them. So what you end up doing is you start to pick out of everything you study what you like. You know what the problem is with that I found out?
What?
You don't change.
Yeah.
Because you're not challenging yourself by looking at the stuff that you don't necessarily agree with, which might be the very thing you need to look at in yourself. Because if I'm studying with something over here and it's something I don't like, oh, okay, but I like that part. Then I feel, okay, I like that part, but I already like that. So it's not really introducing any real change in my thinking. But when I heard, you're not a body, you're free, you're not a body, whoa, what you know, then I thought, oh, look how I'm reacting to that. It must be a different idea. Then I asked Spirit, how should I look at this? You know, give me another way to look at it. And then Spirit will always come through because you ask. It's hard to believe. It's as simple as asking. So I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you to really ask yourself, what do I truly desire? And don't judge the desire. That's what I was getting ready to tell my man over here. Because he was saying, that's too materialistic. And that was what we were told earlier. Don't judge your desire right now. Even though you might be tempted, we just don't judge it right now. So you deserve to be happy. I want y'all to play in the sandbox of happiness with me. Let's acknowledge ourselves. Woo, this was deep. This was deep. All right, so let's do the financial expression of appreciation. I'm going to do one little quick little wrap up before we leave out of here. I'm going to say it again. You all are just incredible, beautiful, wonderful souls. I feel honored to know you and to have you in this ship with me where we're trying to sail over to some happiness. Those of you online, I love you. Thank you so much for all the wonderful connections and emails that you've been sending me and letting me know that I am not a voice crying in the wilderness. And thank you for letting me know I'm not a voice crying in the wilderness. And I also have to learn not to be concerned about that one way or another. But the way to get there is to tell the truth about what comes up. So I want you to all, please don't tell me you're feeling fine when you're not. You don't have to pretend that you feel any kind of way when you meet me, greet me, when you come into the room. You don't have to keep the mask up for me. I want you to undress for me. Be vulnerable. Let me see you, and I'll let you see me. That doesn't mean if I tell you I'm not feeling good that I need you to correct me. Please don't. And I won't correct you. Because that's what will close a person down from sharing with you. If you start believing that every time they say something, that's your cue to start fixing them. If you do have something you want to share, ask them. Would you mind if I gave you another way to look at that? Or are you open to me sharing this with you or that with you? Ask them first. And you'll see people become more open with you. I'm available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions. Go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and it explains the Clarity Sessions, the one-on-one sessions. And all of my classes are online. Just Google me and I'll come up everywhere. Ignore it if it comes up on porn sites. I don't know how I got there. So actually, some other girl Purdy, I don't know. All right. So Sunday is the Course in Miracles, and you are a miracle. So close your eyes one more time. Don't fear your desires. Don't fear your desires. Desire to embrace desire. Desire to embrace desire. Don't judge your desire. Don't say it's too materialistic. Don't say it's too sexual. Don't say it's too materialistic. Don't say that somebody wouldn't approve of it. The lesson is to stop judging your desires. Desire to embrace your desire. Touch it, feel it, know it, dance with it. Touch it, feel it, know it, dance with it. Sing with your desire. Look at your desire innocently. Feel your desire wholly. If you don't feel it, don't deal with it. If you don't feel it, don't deal with it. If you don't feel it, don't deal with it. If you don't feel it, you know it's a fake desire. If it doesn't create enthusiasm, you know it's a fake desire. And if you're sure it's your desire, but you just don't feel it, ask to have the blocks removed. Ask what your true desire is. And if you can't think of a specific thing, you can always say, I desire the peace of God. I desire the peace of God. I desire the peace of God. You can ask for the content. When you don't know the form, ask for the content. If you don't know the form, ask for the content. You can say, I desire to know total fulfillment. I desire to experience total fulfillment through the Holy Spirit, through my higher self. I desire, and then you go, I allow it, 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 I allow it. And if you don't know what you want, you can say, decide for me. Higher power, decide for me. Higher power, decide for me. You can ask Spirit to give you the desire if you don't know what it is. And you can experience it totally and completely. You will get clear signs. It will reveal itself to you. And if you don't know, just keep asking yourself, what do I truly desire? 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 How much of God am I willing to receive? How much of God am I willing to allow to be expressed through me? I love y'all so friggin' much. Thank you. Let's give it to us. When I say that, I mean that. Let's give it to us. I mean, I'm proud of us. Doggone it. We want it. We have found.